So there were people waiting, and I said, would anyone like to come with me to go to the, where they're rescuing people? And these two girls said, yeah, we would love to go. And so they got on the boat, and I got in the water, and I was pulling the boat and swimming. And we got back to the bayou, and we waited there for a night. And the next day we got out, and the helicopter started coming. And at one point, we kind of made up a story. I told the Marine gentleman that, the girl that I was with, that I said, this is my wife, she's pregnant, we need to get on, because we had been there for 4 days at that point. And so I said, all right, get on. So we got on, and they had, one of the girls had a cat, and the other girl had a dog. And we got on the helicopter, and I remember they lifted us up, and I thought we were going to be saved. I thought it was all over. When we were up in the air, I remember looking down and just seeing how enormous it was, how much the water had just swallowed the whole city. We didn't realize how bad it was until I was up in the air that high and I looking down and seeing it. But so they brought us to a highway, a strip of highway, and they dropped us off, and there were thousands of people, and they were all just waiting, and it looked like there were lines forming, big lines, and they had barricaded the highway off, and there were buses coming and taking people out, but they were only sending like 2 buses every hour or so. And you imagine a bus can hold about 70 people. There were probably about 15,000 people where I was, just to give you an idea of how slow they were leaving. They provided us with 2 porta potties on either side of the field. So for that many people, as you can see, they probably tell the porta potties were not usable. Pretty much people were just going to the bathroom where they stood, peeing and pooping kind of wherever they were, by trees. Sometimes they choose a spot. It was horrible. It was absolutely scary. There were Marines standing by, Marines and police officers standing guard by the gates, and they had guns. And some people were just going absolutely insane trying to jump over. And they were being beat, and they were being, arrested and placed into vehicles and just kind of left there because they didn't know where to bring them. But so we waited, and I was with the girls, and we waited, and we managed to get into, there was this big hotel behind where the highway was, and we got into the hotel, and they said the management had allowed people to get in there and stay in a room, because at that point, we were all sleeping outside on the dirt. And so we got a room, and the way we got the room was, they had the little cards that you slide and you get into the room, but none of it worked because there was no electricity, so we literally had to kick the doors down to get into the room. And we got in the room, and we spent the night there. But the toilet wouldn't flush, so the build-up, it was nasty. But and at one point, the girl that I was with, we had gotten into a maid's closet to get some things, to clean with and stuff. And the maid's closet also had a lock on it, and for some reason it had been opened, but it wasn't broken. And we went in there and we were getting some things, and her cat got into the closet, and we went out and closed the door, not realizing the cat was still in the closet, and we couldn't get in. We just couldn't get in. I tried as hard as I could, but it was like a steel door, and I couldn't kick it in or nothing. So we ended up having to leave her cat in that closet, and that still bothers me, because it was like probably 115 degrees in there, and that cat did not make it. I couldn't imagine it made it. But so we slept there the night, and the next day the police came and told us to all get out of the building. So we all got out of the building, and we went back into the field, and we waited again. And at one point, finally, the girls had gotten up, and they said, we're going to go. And they got in line, and they waited for the bus, and they got on a bus. Unfortunately, at that point, though, I was so eaten up with bugs on my legs, and I had gotten an infection from being in that water. I couldn't stand on my ankles. They just hurt so bad that I had to just kind of lay there. And at one point, I went for a walk to try to, just see if I could find a cot to lay on, because they dropped cots off, so I wouldn't have to lay on the hard ground. And there was just trash everywhere. in this huge pile of trash, I saw this dog, and he was laying in the trash. And I went and I picked him up, and I brought him back over to the tree that I was laying under. And he had a huge gash in the side of his body, and it looked like his leg was mangled from people stepping on him. And he had mud in his lungs, you could hear it, and he would cough, and mud would come out. And I just laid there with him, and I had a bucket of water, and I was trying to give him water, and he wouldn't drink it. So at one point I would tilt his head back and try to put it down his throat, and he would drink a little, and then he would throw up. And when he threw up, it was a mixture of blood and dirt. So that night I slept there with that dog. And the next morning I woke up, and the dog was panting really hard. And he was dying, and he was trying to die. And I just couldn't see him suffer anymore. So I put him down. The only way I knew how. I'm not going to tell you how, but I put him down. And that was the hardest thing I ever had to do in my life. Because I've never killed anything before. And it felt like the right thing to do at that moment. And I got so angry. I just got so angry. And at that point I pretty much given up. I gave up hope. It was 7 days at that point. And I had just given up hope. I couldn't stand, I couldn't move, I was dehydrated, I was hungry, I was hot as hell. And I just gave up. And I remember laying back and falling asleep, thinking that I was about to die. And that was it. And the only thing I could think about were my parents. And that they hadn't spoken with me in 7 days, and that hoping that they would know that I was alright, and that when I died, that I died trying to fight for my life.